Scrubs Season 10, Episode 3, offers emotional callbacks to the past while finding a way forward. Thank goodness JD and Elliot's feud has finally come to an end, for now, anyway. The fighting between them has been the worst part of Scrubs Season 10, although it does make me wonder what happened between them. Scrubs Season 10 Episode 3 was emotional for a lot of reasons, but JD and Elliot's reconciliation was one of the strongest parts, especially considering the callbacks to the past in this episode. JD looks up at Elliot on Scrubs Season 10 Episode 3. As an intern, JD struggled mightily when an older woman rejected dialysis and decided that it was time for her to go peacefully, so I would have liked him to connect that explicitly. To be fair, I don't know where they would have fit anything like that, but I thought the evolution from how JD reacted as an intern to the advice he gave now was interesting, and I wanted to explore this more. Elliot's patient reminded me of a similar dilemma JD once had. Elliot's struggle with her heart patient was the first real test of whether Scrubs Season 10 could successfully blend heartbreaking medical drama with its zany comedic style. I had every confidence that it could, because JD faced a similar dilemma on Scrubs Season 1 Episode 4. The dramatic elements mostly worked here too, just as they did in the original. Elliot knew as well as JD did that death is part of life in a hospital, as is sending patients home who refuse treatment. But only JD seemed to have accepted that on a deep level. Elliot's refusal to do so added depth to her character and made me root for her to reach the patient before it was too late, even though it did seem likely she would. She made all the electronic records go offline so no one could discharge her patient until she got the ex-husband there to talk to her. I didn't buy that. First of all, nothing prevented people from taking chart notes or filling out discharge papers by hand and entering them into the system later. More importantly, Elliot's patient was the only one in the hospital. I often think too logically through situations like this, but from my perspective, this trick was dangerous. If the entire hospital was paralyzed because nobody could access medical records electronically, other patients weren't getting life-saving treatment, and that's not a position any hospital should be in. Still, Scrubs is primarily a comedy, so nothing terrible happened, and Elliot's trick led to that hilarious sequence in which Turk threatened the IT guy about Dungeons and Dragons. There was no reason for the tag at the end of the episode to include JD being a jerk and telling Carla the truth about Dungeons and Dragons night, but at least the setup for that cruel development was funny. That ending was especially disappointing, because the episode's final act was so strong. I can't decide which part was my favorite. The seemingly nasty ex-husband who deliberately provoked the patient to get her to choose to live, or Elliot's heartfelt admission to JD about what this case meant to her. Carla, Elliot, and Sibby look at Elliot's phone on Scrubs Season 10, Episode 3, Disney Darko Sigmund. Elliot's fear of being alone forever was true to her character, and it made JD remember that they were friends long before they were married. Let's hope it stays that way. The fighting was obnoxious, and JD and Elliot have gone around in circles about their relationship far too many times as it is. That said, did anyone doubt that Elliot was the one writing nasty reviews of JD's medical practices? It was obvious to me from the minute they first appeared. It will always be challenging to deal with the interns because of the abomination that was Scrubs Season 9. Unfortunately, many Scrubs fans, myself included, remember how awful the attempt to recreate Scrubs without JD and his friends was. And so, if the interns have too much screen time, we start worrying that the writers are entertaining ideas of doing that again. Tosh displays confidence on Scrubs Season 10, Episode 3, Disney Darko Sigmund. Scrubs Season 10, Episode 3 found the right balance. Amara is my favorite of the new interns, and I love Deshauna standing up for her and reminding Turk that he has to teach, not just write anyone off who does get it right away. This story was a great example of how to use the interns in subplots without letting them dominate the show. The only one I could do without is that guy who thinks he's so great and is always needling Asher. He's such a stereotype that I can never remember his name if we were ever given one. Speaking of which, I am sad that Neil Flynn is returning as the janitor. I get that times have changed, but having a friendly janitor just is working for me.